Tonight we're going to talk about politics of the long ago and far away, and wizards behaving badly, and all of the things that create chaos and conflict in my books. I had been reading the George R.R. Martin series, the Game of Thrones, and I loved what he did with character, because none of his characters were all good or all bad. They were all mixtures. Somebody once said that even a villain is the hero of his own story, and I love that. I'm fascinated with antagonists. I thought, I want to do that. I was trying to decide what to do next. I was still interested in writing high fantasy, but I had found that I really enjoyed writing for teens. Teens are the most passionate audience that exists. I know. I get the emails. They are very free to let you know if you have pleased them or if you have disappointed them. I don't know if anyone here has read The Dragonair. You know, I killed off a character. Yeah. I killed off a character. And did you email me? No? Yeah, well, one boy wrote an email, it's a single line, epic fail, Chima. and I was like, you don't understand, I love that character. Well, you couldn't have loved that character very much. In this scene, Raisa is waiting for Han to return from who knows where. He stays out late every night, and she wants to talk to him when he comes back to the palace. She hears him come in, and she calls him in. His appearance was something of a shock after weeks of seeing him in court garb. He was barefoot, his shirt undone, so she must have caught him in the midst of disrobing. His clothes were fine enough, but they were torn and soiled, ruined really, as though he'd used them to sweep up the street. He wore a velvet cap pulled down over his brilliant hair, fingerless gloves on his hands. 3 pendants rested on his bare chest, the serpent amulet, the lone hunter amulet, and a clan talisman, the figure of a dancing piper carved in rowan. The cuffs of his sleeves were stained dark with a substance that almost looked like, "Where's Cat?" he said, scanning the room as if looking for intruders. "What's happened?" He looked and sounded totally sober. "Nothing's happened," she said. "I just needed to—" "Where have you been?" "I've been down in Rag Market," he said, almost defensively. He yanked off the cap and stuffed it into his pocket. "But you look shabby," he said, a preemptive confession. "Dirty, I know. I didn't plan on anyone seeing me. I didn't expect you'd still be up." He looked weary and worn down, vulnerable. It was more than his clothes. Purple shadows smudged his eyes, and his face was streaked with dirt. It almost seemed like the spark of optimism that always burned within him was failing. Impulsively, Raisa reached up and laid her palm against his cheek. "What's wrong?" He pressed his hand over hers, took a deep breath. They found another dead wizard down in Pinbury Alley, older woman named Hadria Lancaster. "Do you know her?" Raisa nodded. "Slightly. She didn't spend much time at court. Last I knew, she was in residence at her country home. I wonder how she ended up in Rag Market." "That's the question, isn't it? I wish I knew." Han met her gaze directly, as if awaiting whatever judgment she meant to impose. She closed her eyes, but his image was imprinted on her eyelids, his golden hair, burnished by lamplight, the faint zigzag scar over his cheekbone, his predator's grace under the mucky clothes. Raisa reluctantly withdrew her hand. "Do you have time to talk now?" "Now?" He looked down at himself, brushing at his clothing as if embarrassed. "Are you sure? I'm sorry, I'm filthy." "I know you're tired," Raisa said, "but I've been gone and you've been unavailable. I need to talk to you before the next meeting of the Wizard Council, and I don't even know when that is." "All right," she said. "Make it quick, I'm tired too." 5 minutes later, he knocked softly, then pushed the door open. He was still barefoot, but he changed into a loose linen shirt and clean trousers. The cap was gone, his hair finger-combed, and he'd washed his face. He looked almost boyish in this fresh, scrubbed state. Raisa motioned into the chair opposite hers at the table. He sat, his hands resting on the surface, his expression guarded and yet somehow vulnerable. Now that his hands were clean, she saw that the knuckles were skinned and scabbed over. When he noticed her staring, he thrust them under the table. Too late. "What happened to your hands?" she blurted. "I got into a scrape down in the market. I'm a bit out of practice." "Why do you go down there?" Raisa asked. "Is that where you're spending all your time?" Han shifted his gaze away. Just trying to work out who's hushing wizards, trying to catch somebody doing the deed. I have eyes and ears down there, but if it's a wizard doing the killing, there's no way my people can stand up to Flash. And even if they witness something and survive, it's their word against the killers. You think it's a wizard then, Reza said, not a street gang? I don't really know, but if it was a gang from Ragmarket, Cat would know by now. All they take is Flash. They leave the other swag behind, so it could be wizard-on-wizard killings. That's one way to deal with the shortage of amulets. And then it came to Reza what he was up to. She half rose from her chair, fear and fury edging her voice. Admit it, you're walking the streets all night hoping the killer comes after you. He hunched his shoulders against the verbal assault. It's a good plan. Eventually, I'll get lucky. It's a terrible plan. I forbid you to make yourself a target. Han tilted his chin up, the picture of obstinacy. I'm serious. She cast about for something that would sway him. Please, I can't afford to lose you. You're supposed to be my bodyguard. You should be here with me. Not, you had something else you wanted to talk about? The set of his jaw told her that further argument would get her nowhere. This conversation is not over, Reza thought, but it is late. She cleared her throat. I wanted to give you fair warning. Next month I'll name Sergeant Dunedane as General of the Highlander Army, replacing General Klima. Han looked puzzled for a moment, then his face cleared. Oh, right, I met her at one of the morning meetings. She came with Captain Byrne. So you're putting a blue jacket in charge of the regular army? Reza nodded. Captain Byrne has been reviewing military finances. I found some accounting irregularities in the area of procurement that suggest that our general has been lining his own pockets for years. Plus, there's the matter of the mercenaries, where he's likely to be on the job, Han said. I don't expect Klima will take the news gracefully, nor will the direct reports who are loyal to him, since most are from the down realms. Especially because Klima was hoping to marry off one of his sons to you, Han said. Right, Reza said, wondering, how do you know about that? Are you somehow keeping track of my suitors? Which made her think of Marisa Pines. What was that all about anyway, she blurted, at Marisa Pines? What was what all about? Han asked, furrowing his brow. Your behavior, that dance. Han conjured a wounded look. Well, nobody else volunteered, and so I thought, and the note. Now he looked genuinely puzzled. What note? The note you put under my pillow at the Matriarch Lodge, Reza said, warning me away from Nightwalker. I didn't put any note under your pillow, Han said. He paused for a heartbeat, then added, though avoiding Nightwalker seems like a good idea to me. It's a match my father favors, Reza said. Then your father is wrong, Han said. Nightwalker thinks the world sprouted from his bunghole. Reza dismissed this image with some difficulty. Then you did leave the note. I did not. It just sounds like somebody else shares my opinion. I won't be marrying for love, Reza said. I'll have to make the best match politically if we're going to get out of this fix. So you've said. Han cocked his head back and looked down his nose at Reza. What's that supposed to mean? She demanded. What? That look on your face. I'm thinking if you're the queen of the realm, if anybody can marry for love, it ought to be you. You don't understand how You're right, I don't. I'm just a jumped-up street rat in a velvet coat. Now can I go to bed? He made as if to rise. Not yet. We have to get off this topic. Let's talk about the Wizard Council. What about it? How did the first meeting go? How did the members react to Lord de Villiers' death? Are they planning any response to the murders in the city? Han looked at Reza for a long moment as if trying to read the meaning behind her words. If they are, it's under the table, not discussed in open council. Lord Bayard is already trying to blame them on me. On you? Reza sat forward. Why would you be out killing wizards? Didn't they tell you about me? Han's eyes seemed to pin her in place, the color shifting from sapphire to lapis to deep indigo. I'm a killer. Need to get in a little practice now and then. And the bodies have been found on my turf, open and shut case. Did anyone believe him? Reza asked, worry pinging through her. That you're the one responsible? Han scrubbed his fingers through his hair. Those that hated me before believe him. Those that hate the Bayards think it's likely them, or the Demon Eye. Could it be the Demon Eye? Han shifted his gaze away. I don't know what to think. It could be. It's the easy answer. Could it be wizard politics, Reza asked. Maybe, but it seems like the killers are picking at random. If it were the Bayards, for instance, you'd think they'd use this opportunity to hush their enemies and blame it on me. I can't have a high wizard whose loyalty rests with the gifted alone, Reza said. I don't need someone who's more focused on wizard politics than the good of the realm. I need someone I can work with. So you want to change the role of the High Wizard, Han said. Is that it? Raisa shook her head. I want the role of the High Wizard to be what it should have been all along, the magical arm of my government. I agree with you, but there's only so many fights you can pick at a time, Han sighed, looking glum. Right now I'm guessing the new High Wizard will be Micah Bayar. If not him, Mina Abelard. Which one of them do you prefer? Neither, Raisa said. I want you. Me? Han stared at her as if blindsided. Seriously? Why would I joke about this? I just told you that Lord Bayar accused me in open council of murdering wizards, Han said. At least some on the council believe him. It's not going to be easy to get elected, I mean. Nobody said it was going to be easy, Raisa said, twisting the wolf ring on her finger. When I'm at home, I write on the computer. I have a laptop and a cinema display and an external keyboard in an office. I'm a very fast keyboarder. I used to have a job through high school and college where I typed advertising copy. And I love the freedom that the computer gives me to take chances and switch things around. Sometimes I do go out to a cafe to write. You know, writing is kind of a solitary thing. You get a little bit of cabin fever, so I'll go out. I have learned that I have to bring headphones or something because I'm a naturally nosy person. And when I go to the cafe, do you know that a lot of people have first dates at coffee shops? You know, so pretty soon I'm like, and yeah, you don't get much writing done that way, so yeah, so I put in the earbuds and listen to music and swill caffeine. What's my favorite part? Finishing? I loved, I mean, there were several scenes I loved. The scene that, the 60 pages that I wrote that sold the series was the section in The Grey Wolf Throne when Raisa is riding through the mountains and being chased, you know, is wounded and all these things happen. You know, it was full of action and really exciting and lots of scenery and atmosphere, and so I really enjoyed writing that. I enjoyed some of the steamy love scenes. I liked writing the epilogue. Those of you who've read the book know what I'm talking about. Usually writer's block for me, one of the challenges in writing a book a year is that you're usually working on more than one project at a time. You're polishing up your last book, and then you're writing this really crappy first draft of your next book, and you're constantly comparing the two. There's an editor in my head, and I don't know if any of the rest of you have that voice that says, this is terrible. You know, what makes you think you're a writer? Those other 6 books, they were flukes, you know, and this, yeah, I mean, whatever. And one way I attack that self-critical thing is I set word count goals. Is anybody here doing NaNoWriMo? Yeah, that's National Novel Writing Month every November. The goal is you're supposed to write 50,000 words in a month. I've never actually done the official NaNoWriMo. I've done March Novel Madness. M&M. You get an M&M whenever you meet your word count goal. Danielle Steele, of all people, once said, I can fix anything but a blank page. You have to have something down in order to fix it. If you never get past one paragraph, you're not going to have a book. First drafts are very hard. Be very kind to yourself if you're writing a first draft. I was once told I would never have a book published because I used Times New Roman and not Courier. And when I sold my first book, I asked my editor, I said, so what's this about Times? And she's like, what? And I said, well, somebody told me that, you know, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Are there writers in the room? Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to own that. A writer is one who writes. So, if you write, you're a writer.